Welcome to Lift, a leadership podcast where we will learn, inspire, and focus together. I'm Carl Warren from Beyond Behaviour. In each episode, we will explore how to learn with purpose, inspire those around us, focus on what matters, and build strong communities together. You will gain insights that are practical and relevant for your own leadership journey. Today's topic is how to have difficult conversations, and probably the first place to start is trying to change the mindset about difficult from difficult to necessary. They're necessary conversations based on our role and purpose as opposed to difficult just because it's challenging. We need to have them, and Susie's got a bit of a scenario she wants to unpack, and let's then look at how we have these necessary conversations.
Yeah, I think you're right, Carl. We all, as leaders, struggle with this. And you're right. I think I've always referred to them as difficult conversations, and a lot of us do. But I like how you talk about the fact that they actually are necessary in our roles.
Yeah.
And I want to unpack a specific situation because, people will be able to relate to it. And it's a real life example that we can really pull apart, but it applies to many situations. I want to talk about when you are leading someone. So in this instance, I'm leading an assistant principal who is quite new to the role.
Yep.
Is really giving it a good hot shot.
Yep.
So much effort is going into doing what they're doing. But you can see on the daily, as the days and weeks go on, this leader starts to become incredibly exhausted.
Yeah.
And the way that starts to appear is that you start to notice that, communication isn't so tight.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps not responding to emails in a timely manner, or it might be, responds to some and then it takes them days or a week to acknowledge others.
Right.
It's communication with the team that they're leading. So you start to see that it's very reactive communication.
Yep.
It looks like, things that should have been communicated perhaps get missed. Other times it's like remembering, I needed to communicate this. So you're quickly communicating this one thing, forgetting that, hang on, this is also a good opportunity to raise X, Y, and Z as well. What was also concerning in this situation was that the leader started to show up really exhausted.
Yeah.
And now that can be normal because we all get exhausted.
But
what I started to see was like after we would come back from the weekend or after we would come back from holidays, there was still like this sense of depletion. And my concern was then firstly worrying about that person's well-being.
Yep.
Like they don't seem okay. And secondly, they don't seem to be coping with the job.
Mm-hmm.
So I just gave examples of organisation and communication. But things start to really unravel.
Yeah.
And then I go, okay, so, you give them the benefit of the doubt. You try and sit down with them at times and help them map out their priorities. But then you kind of go, how much of this can I continue to spoon feed versus this is your role and
Yep.
I don't know that you're actually coping right now. What's the starting point?
Well, for me, again, it comes back to obviously the conversation is going to be necessary. Right? I am the leader in this case. It's my role. It's the role that I've taken on. It's my purpose. And I'm concerned in this case, for me, I guess, Suze, I'd be concerned not only for their well-being, but also for their team's well-being, who they're trying to lead under fatigue. Fatigue is, and that sort of decision-making stuff goes out the window.
Yes.
So the team gets confusing messages. Poor communication is part of all of that. And then I worry about their class, right? So their actual core business then becomes really difficult. And you're right, as a leader, that's going to impact on, okay, so this is my purpose now.
Yeah.
Those kids and what's going on for them is my purpose. And so it's a necessary conversation.
Mm-hmm.
For me, where it starts is making the decision that I'm going to have the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And as soon as I make that decision, I then try to plan out about, okay, so what is the conversation about? And my purpose in it, obviously, in this case for you, what you're talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, is to help them feel, get some more agency back into their own role, get some more control, perhaps help them look after themselves a bit better. It's about caring for them, really.
If we can just pause a little bit there before we even go to the planning, because you just said something which is really beneficial. I think it's about, you're right, making the decision first to go, I now need to have this conversation.
Absolutely.
Because I think what would be really relevant is that, as we unpack examples that you and I've had your support many of the time to kind of go, I know I'm at this point where I need to have a difficult or a necessary conversation. But you're right, Carl. I think one of the things as a leader is actually understanding I'm at that point now where I've got to make that decision to have the conversation. And I know in the past I've said to you, am I at that point? Have I done enough? Have I done enough to support the person? Am I being unfair? Is the timing right?
Okay, so that's a judgment call.
Yeah.
Okay, so the timing, have you done enough? They're both judgments that you're going to make. I believe that actually it's more important to have the conversation and give the person a chance to actually address whatever it is we've got to address than to give them longer when they're actually obviously struggling. But as a leader, we all make that judgment. We all make that decision. I see it really coming from a place of care for the other person and for the people they're leading and the people they're trying to work with. It's more about that than it is about anything else. And usually if I'm questioning my own judgment or decision making, I'm going to err on the point I've just got to trust myself more. I've just got to go with my gut on this and have the courage then to go and do what I've got to do, rather than second guessing myself and questioning my own judgment. That's not helpful.
I agree, Carl, because I think the times when I've done that well has been, like you say, when you reflect on the other person's needs and you go, is it going to be helpful to that person that I continue to allow them to operate this way? Are they making gains and growth, or do I just have to make the necessary call to have that conversation?
Okay, so for me, it's like, just for a bit topical, sacking Shane Flanagan from the Dragons. Right, you can see that someone's struggling.
Yep.
Right, it's a slow, agonising death.
Yeah.
Right, someone just needs to make the decision.
Correct.
Right, someone who's in leadership needs to make the call, Suze, and then just go and do it. Right, it's the how you do it then that matters, but the decision comes first.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're just watching someone struggle and drown. Like that's not compassionate.
No.
That's not going to help anyone. And often we'll I knew he was struggling, I knew this. Well, why didn't you say something? Right?
And it's interesting you say that, because if we use that example of Shane Flanagan, people were saying they could hear it in his language of, I'll just be kept around until they need, as long as they need me.
Right.
And you see it in the people you lead. You see the signs, and other people see the signs. Like you're saying, their own team members see the signs.
Right. And what I worry is, okay, so the person who's supposed to be leading his or her team, then the team are now worrying about them. They're trying to protect their own leader.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work well.
Yeah.
And everyone starts suffering because of lack of communication, because of poor decision making, because of confusing roles, because of fatigue. The whole place starts to suffer. And it's all coming really from the fact that maybe I haven't made a decision.
Yeah.
So let's make the decision.
Let's make the decision. So you're right. So that's point one.
Right.
Right? We make the decision.
Make the decision.
Okay. Next step.
Plan it out. Right? So make a decision and then go, okay, so what are the core issues?
Yep.
What really is it that I'm actually talking about here? Because that's the stuff I want to hang it on. And for me, the core issues have to be evidence-based. They have to be things that when I'm talking to the person, they can actually, at least to some extent, acknowledging as being factual.
Yeah.
They're not subjective.
Yeah.
It's not my opinion. These are statements of fact based on evidence, like an email chain or a decision that was made or whatever it is that we're talking about, but I can point blank say at points in time, this is what actually happened.
Yeah.
Right?
I know, Carl, in the past when we've done this, and this is why I think it's really valuable to be able to have a coach or someone that you can talk through the process with, because I know when I've done it with you or others in the past, there's so much emotion in it for me.
Yeah.
And it seems so big, so overwhelming. And it's not until I start to talk it through and then people start to help you pinpoint what the issues are. And then I, as a person, as a leader, start to gain clarity on, okay, so it's an organisational thing. It's communication.
Yep.
And you pick out the main things that you want to address, right?
And you don't need 30, Suze.
Correct.
You need 3.
Yep.
I don't need to load it up. I need 3 that are clear and explicit and evidence-based, and then we've got enough,
Yep.
right? The other thing too is, which I just want to jump on the back of, I would encourage everyone to not do this on their own. So if I was preparing for a necessary conversation, I would work it through, I would rehearse it.
Yep.
I would talk it through, because often there's a lot of emotion in it for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, and feeling of all sorts of stuff about, am I leading them well enough? Am I doing all of these things? Well, if there's any of that in the room, if there's any of that happening, it's going to be confusing for the person on the other side.
Absolutely.
Right? So you need to work that through.
I agree, Carl, because I think, you know, during those times, it's frustration that the job's not being done well. It's frustration or angst within myself. Have I done enough?
Yep.
It's worrying about how am I going to still treat this person in a kind, compassionate way, like we said previously, telling them what they need to hear as opposed to what they want to hear.
Correct.
And I can't do that until I gain clarity. So I don't know how anyone could do this without talking it through with someone
exactly
else.
Right. But at least, and for me, there's a rehearsal in that. Talking it through, clarifying my points with evidence, listening to how it sounds, listening to how I'm actually saying these words. Because I don't want the first time I say it to be with the person in front of me. I want to have a rehearsal so that if I stumble or have to actually talk it through, I don't want it to be happening. They're going to have enough challenge hearing what I'm saying as
Correct.
opposed to me then miscommunicating in some way.
Yeah.
I don't want to be ambiguous.
No, and you want to be clear.
I want to be as clear as I can,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So for me, that then is why I don't do this on my own. It doesn't matter how experienced I am,
Yeah,
I do not
agree.
do it on my own.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
And as someone who works with very experienced leaders, I do this a lot with them when we plan this stuff out, like with you, Suze,
Yeah.
but with school principal, everyone, right? So for me, then we plan it out, we work out the evidence, we iron out any emotional residual stuff.
Yes.
That's ours.
I
right?
agree.
That's not theirs, ours.
Once you can do that as a leader and
Yep.
get the emotion out,
Yep.
you can just look at it with so much more, it becomes neutral.
Yeah.
It's like the emotion goes out the window and suddenly in front of you, you've got a really clear plan about where I need to head
Absolutely.
and how I'm going to do that.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
And again, that can take some time to work through.
Yeah.
It takes, this is not fast.
Yeah.
I don't see this as like, this is not something that I'll be saying I'm going to be doing tomorrow. I'd be planning this out. What I then do though is then go, okay, so once I've planned it out and thought it through, is how do I want to deliver the message? In other words, now that I've got rid of my emotional state, how do I want to actually deliver this message to this person? And and I'm sure you do too, we go, okay, I want to do it with compassion.
So now you're talking about the delivery,
Correct.
right? I totally agree, because now this can be a really tricky part too.
Right.
Is like, how do I say that with clarity, honesty, and kindness,
Right.
and in a
Compassion.
compassionate way? It's so challenging because what you're having to do in that moment is manage yourself, but also worry about how you're going to manage the other person's emotions, if you even can, right? I mean,
Well,
it's
I can't.
out of our control often.
All I can do is say, I'm going to say what I've got to say. These are the things I want to cover. Here's the evidence for that. And I'm going to say it with compassion. Because actually, I care about the other person.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. I'm saying this because it's a necessary conversation because I care about them.
Yeah.
Right? And I want them to have an opportunity to learn and grow. That is my job.
Yeah.
Right? So here we go. And I'm going to do it with compassion. Now, how they receive that, how they take it, how they react or respond to it, that's not my story, that's theirs.
And Carl, that's huge, because that's something that's taken me years to learn, and needing to be reminded of the fact that I can't control the other person's reaction, and that's not a reflection of me.
No.
Right? And
Well,
that can be hard as leaders, because
no.
often we worry about, well, how's that person, you know, how are they going to know that I've got the best of intentions for them? And I think what I've learned through practice over the years is that it's not so much now worrying about how that other person is going to perceive it, as long as they understand my message really clearly.
Correct.
Because that really helps them be able to reflect on things a bit better.
Because the worst case scenario, Suze, is you have to say it twice.
Yeah.
The worst case scenario for me is that actually we have to do it again. I want them, and I hope they can have an opportunity to hear exactly what I've said,
Yeah.
take it on board, learn from it,
Yeah.
grow out of it, and we never say it again. We never have to come back to this, because in fact, this person who's working so hard that you described at the beginning, and obviously is heavily invested,
Yep.
then actually can adjust whatever they've got to adjust,
Yep.
can do the things they've got to do,
Yep.
and we can work off that. Because I don't want to come back to the conversation. That's why we're having it.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that twice.
Necessary conversation, but let's not make it twice,
Yeah.
right? And often, in my experience, when I've reflected back and I've realised I've had to do it twice, it's because I wasn't prepared enough the first time. It's because I wasn't clear enough the first time. I was ambiguous or whatever else.
Correct. Yeah.
That's on me. That is on me,
Yeah.
right? And so if I can actually make sure, and even in the conversation, make sure you're seeking clarification from the other person. So, can you see what I'm getting at? Can you understand what I'm trying to say to you? And even though it might be hard for them to repeat back, I want to hear back a version of at least what I'm telling them.
Yeah.
I want to hear
I
a
was just about
version
to ask
back,
that,
right?
Carl, how do you do that? Because sometimes you can think you've delivered the message
Sure.
well, and it may not be. So how would you do that in the conversation?
Okay, so I would say, can you, okay, there's a couple of things going on. Firstly, you're reading their body language, right? You're reading their face, you're reading where they're at, you're looking at how receptive are they or not, are they shutting down, are they withdrawing, right? Are they just putting up walls? Now, if they're putting up walls, I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to have to break the wall a bit. Irrespective of how responsive they are, I still want to make sure that they're getting my key point, right? So and that's why I'm going to have 3. I'd be saying, so these are the things, this is the, going through them relatively methodically and clearly, which is why I've got to have practiced. And then hoping and giving them an opportunity to repeat it back in their own words,
Correct. Yeah.
right? In their own words.
Yeah.
Now, probably as well, after the conversation, I'm going to follow it up with an email.
Yeah.
Right, after the conversation, I'm going to then go, okay, so irrespective of how it was taken on at that time, I'm going to come back with, okay, as just some follow up on our conversation today. Here's an email covering the 3 points, so that we can then come work off that place. Because again, I don't want to repeat it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be coming back.
So these are the 3 things that we've discussed today that we're going to work on moving forward.
Correct.
Because I was going to say, sometimes if it's not received well, or like you say, if there's walls being put up,
Yep.
and for some people, totally human, in that moment, they may not be able to demonstrate as much vulnerability as they'd like, and they need to take it away and process
Correct.
it. And you may not always be able to get in that moment a recap of like, okay, so what's your take on the conversation? Because they may not be in a place, right? Or what do you think?
I'm not looking for them to try and find solutions to the problem, Suze.
No, not solutions,
I'm-
but just to be able to say, okay, so
All
these
I
are the
want
things
is
you're telling
some
me.
measure of
Yep.
understanding of what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
Some measure of that. Now, whether I'm not even talking about acceptance of what I'm saying.
yeah,
Right? They could point blank disagree with me.
yeah,
They could point blank say, I don't agree with any of that stuff. Okay, but can you hear what tell me what you think I'm saying. Right? Tell me what you're hearing from me.
some acknowledgement of some sort.
At least of where I'm actually coming from,
Yeah.
right? Because for me, again, I want to try to help them grow, and that's if they're not going to grow if they can't understand what I'm getting
Yeah.
at, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is for me, because you're right, it's going to take some time to process it. This could be blindsiding them. Who knows?
Yeah,
We don't know.
correct. Yeah.
So I then go, all right, let's not get into any solutions. If they start trying to fix it, I'll actually slow them down.
Yeah, because we don't. You're right. We don't want solutions.
If they
right
start
now.
saying, oh yeah, this, like they start getting, oh no, sorry, whatever, and start trying to, I don't want that either.
Yeah.
I actually don't. I would rather us put whatever it is on the table, spend some time understanding what it is that we've got that's on the table now, rather than before we do anything in terms of how we're going to address it.
Yeah. And if we go back to the planning component, Carl,
Yeah.
that's where the planning can really help our conversation, because you're so specific with what you want to, like, okay, the point of this meeting is just to address the concerns,
Yep.
so that if people do start to go in solutions, or because sometimes people need to deflect because it's very uncomfortable,
absolutely.
right? You bring it back to right now, we're just discussing
We're just doing
these
this.
issues that we're raising, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, the preparation, that's my anchor point.
Yeah.
That's all about my anchor point.
Yeah.
Clarity of purpose, anchor points, emotional state. Right? And then you've got to then, if I've prepared for it well and I've got really, my emotional state is all about compassion for the other, and I stay with that and I have the discipline to stay with that, they could throw things back at you. They can quite easily sit there and say, well, you never led me. You never told me this. Right? Get deflective and defensive. Right? Okay. Right? I appreciate that point of view. Can you hear what I'm trying to get at here? We can look at how we can address it down the track.
Yeah.
Right? Right? All of that. But
Totally right.
I just want to focus on the three things.
Yeah, correct.
How we address that, we can discuss another day.
Yep. And I think, Carl, there's been instances, I know this has really helped me, where we've almost had a conversation starter, if you like, where, you as a leader acknowledge that this is, it's not an easy conversation, but it's a necessary one. And that kind of helps as well, because I know for me it's helped in my delivery. Just being able to note that, look, this is not an easy conversation to have, but we do need to have it.
Yeah, we're going to have it.
Yeah.
And we're going to have it because I respect your professionalism.
Correct.
We're going to have it because I respect your role and your purpose just as much as I respect my own. Comes back to the necessary bit.
Yeah.
We're going to have this because, in fact, for us to not have it is going to let down both of our purposes.
Yeah.
And both of us won't be doing our jobs well then.
Yeah, and my job is to help you grow.
Correct.
Right?
So that's, for me, it's the clarity of that, Suze.
Yeah.
As I walk into the room, and then I'm absolutely coming from the place of care for the other person.
Yep.
Right, and doesn't mean and part of the care is saying it in a way and being prepared in the way that I want to be.
So you mentioned something about, you said something before, if someone holds up some walls,
Yeah.
you would break that down further. What do you mean by that?
I wouldn't. Okay, so the walls, I would probably not try to address them. I would just try to say, okay, so can you hear what I'm getting at?
Okay. So
Right, now, you can't make people participate in a conversation.
Yeah.
You can't make them come to you.
Yeah.
But I'm going to, and probably I would, depending on how resistant they were, I would say what I've got to say, look at how much they're receiving or not receiving, but I'm still going to say what I've got to say, right? Absolutely, then I'm following it up.
Yep.
Right? In effect, I'm learning the other person in a different way in terms of how they're responding. Their resistance is telling me stuff.
Yeah.
In most cases, hopefully we've got a relationship prior to the conversation where, in fact, we can trust each other more than that. Right? Because for me, when someone shuts down that hard, there's a lot of relational trust in all, they're just shutting down that hard because of a relational trust thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe they felt totally blindsided. Either way, okay, I'm going to say, right, I can see that this is really affecting you. I can see this is what's happening.
Yeah.
I still want to go through the three things, but obviously we're going to come back to that.
Carl, if someone feels blindsided by it,
Yep.
do you feel like, is that not a reflection on us as a leader that perhaps, we haven't done enough to let them know that this conversation was potentially coming?
Absolutely right.
Okay.
And again, so when you said about reflection, like so I'm not in control of someone else's response or reaction to what I'm saying, but I'm sure as heck going to learn about it. I'm going to learn as I'm sitting here. It doesn't mean I own it all, because we all have our own story. But if I'm learning something about that person that I've never seen before, or they're all of a sudden totally blindsided by me, well, that says something about how we've been communicating. Right now,
I agree. Yeah.
As a leader, that matters because I'm setting the tone for that. How have we managed to get to this point where this is so new for you or so threatening to you or whatever? Now, I'm going to reflect on that, Suze. Like that's gonna be something I want to be learning from, and because there's something that I've missed in that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Good point.
That matters.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I own their stuff because we've all got our own histories, right? We've all got our own stories, but it does certainly mean I'll take it away.
Yeah.
Don't want to do that twice.
No. Okay, so we've made the decision to have the conversation.
Yep.
We've planned it by being really clear and concise in what we want to address and say.
Doing it with compassion.
Doing it with compassion so that we've delivered it.
Yep.
And then a really good point you raised was follow it up in an email.
Yep.
And I love that. Well, firstly, I want to ask you why, and then I'll come back to my question.
Why?
Why would you follow it up in an email?
Again, it's the clarity thing. It's the clear about this is what we talked about. I wouldn't call that minutes or anything. They're not minutes. It's just anchor points of the conversation.
Yeah.
It gives people a chance to respond with less emotion. An email, you can go away and think about it and read in your own time. It gives you a bit more space, and so it does a whole lot of things. It obviously puts it in black and white. So, it means that now that's a mark in time where we're going to work off.
And that's what I like, Carl, because I think the fact that it's black and white is what's really helpful in those situations.
Yeah.
Because when you're sifting through so much emotion, it's easy to get lost. The messaging is easy to get lost, right? The message. And so when you have it in black and white, you can refer to it and go, right, so this is specifically what we're addressing.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
These are the core issues, bang, 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 evidence-based, right? Now, they may not have heard it in the conversation.
Yeah.
They may not have because of the emotional state, but they've got it now in front of them. Yeah. And they can come back to that. I can come back to that later on, because for me, again, this isn't a one-off conversation.
No, that's the part.
Right, so this is not a one-off.
Correct.
This is the beginning point of changing direction.
Yep.
That's what this is about. This is a beginning point, a necessary beginning point to change direction and address something that was obviously pretty difficult, right? For them and for me, for the organisation, right? So let's change the direction. And that, I hope, when this is what I want coming out of it, is that in fact we both continue to grow.
So, okay, my next part of the question would be the delivery and the planning's done. We've reiterated it in an email. And like you say, now the work begins, because we can't just park those concerns. We now have to address those concerns. We've given the person a few days, a week or so to process what was going on for them. Would it then be appropriate to then meet with that person and get their take on what the takeaways were from that conversation? To say, so, we've reflected on needing to address these three aspects or themes. What do you see as being the things that you can start working on? Yeah,
so effectively that's a right of reply.
Yeah.
Right. So I've put my thing on the table.
Yep.
These are right. That's exactly what happened. I put my thing on the table. They've now got it in black and white as well in the email. Now, when within a period of time, couple of days, I want to give them a right of reply. I want to give them the right to respond, right? Because it's about being heard, right? It's about everyone being heard and valued. So I want the right of reply. So, okay, and for me, and I want them to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
So I don't want that to be something that they're not aware of, or so I'd say, and this might be what I put in the email as well. So in a couple of days, let's meet again, so that you can respond to these things that I've raised.
Yeah.
So that you can have a response, not a reaction. Could have happened already,
right.
but a response, right? So that's the right of reply part. And for me, that's really, really important, because if they're not heard, if they're not valued, it causes a whole lot more stuff. Right now, it's still not about agreement. It's not about us all going, yay, we're all agreeing. But it gives them a chance to present their point of view about the evidence that I raised.
Yeah.
Right? About their perspective of their own work, of their own job. That's what this is about, yeah?
In that instance, though, I know, like in the past, I have found that tricky at times, because my worry would be that if the other person was to disagree or not see the things that I'm concerned about, then, my worry at the time would be that, this is going to become like a me against them kind of thing. So what would be your advice to leaders who find themselves in that predicament where they're concerned that the other person's not seeing it the way you're seeing it?
Okay, they won't. They probably won't. The way I see something doesn't mean that's the way you're going to see it, Suze. There's no guarantees of that. What matters is that I can talk to and trust my own evidence.
Yeah.
So here's the evidence. This is what it says about what I'm seeing in terms of what you're doing, and this is what I think it means. Now, they may or may not agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm not here for the agreement because I'm actually the boss and not them.
That's key, right?
Right? Because I'm the leader.
Yeah.
Right? I'm telling you this is what I think it means. And you started also by saying that this person you're talking about is relatively new in the role. They're not even going to know what it means.
Yep.
They're not going to know.
Yep.
Why would they know what evidence means? Experience takes that. Right? Well, I'm going to trust my own view of the evidence and my own experience, and I'm going to tell them. It's not about all agreeing.
Yeah.
It
And I
is
know
about moving forward.
You've said in the past, and it made me laugh, but you said it's not a democracy. We're not here to debate what we think organisational communication looks like. I'm the leader, and I'm telling you that in this workplace,
It has to be
this
done.
is the way we operate, and this is the way.
It has to be
Yeah.
done because otherwise the organisation won't function.
Correct.
It has to be done. These are decisions that have to be made,
Yeah.
and this is the time they have to be made in. Otherwise, we won't function. Right? That's not a debate.
Yeah. And that's what's helped me get through those moments, is coming back to that and going, no, this is the expectation of our setting here.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, again, that comes back to sort of like where we started, which is it's a necessary conversation because of my role.
Yeah.
My role is to protect and maintain the integrity of our organisation.
Yeah. And then that allows you to have the conversation where you go, so this is what we need to do. If they can't come to the table with, ways
Yep.
that they think they can improve or support they might require, then that's when you as a leader can step in and go, right, so this is what's required.
I'm going to now instruct.
Correct.
I'm not going to wait for them to come.
Yeah.
I'm just going to instruct and direct.
And that's the nuance, right? Because ideally, if they can come to the table, that's so much more powerful.
Sure.
But like you say, we can't always control that outcome. And then that's when we've got to step in. So that dance is so important because you can really get that wrong, or it can really work to your favour.
Okay, and you're right. Ideally, I'd want them to come to the table.
Yeah.
Ideally, that's what I would want. But in an ideal world, it doesn't always happen, right? So we don't get that. We got to go, the time is up. We have to just instruct and direct.
Yeah.
Let them practice and make it their own.
Yeah.
Now, in many cases, in fact, down the track, people thank us for that. Because, they can struggle. People can struggle for ages trying to work it out on their own, or we can instruct and direct,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And when I reflect on the instances when I've been in that situation, having those conversations, the reaction can be so different, right?
Yeah.
From like one, you can get the real compliance of like, yep, I've got it. No, I'm going to be all over it, to the real passive aggressive, like not owning anything. No, it's all on you kind of thing. And I think so that real clarity in the messaging is super important.
Yeah. I find when I come out of a conversation like this, I feel that I've actually done good work. Like if it doesn't, it's not always about how the other person's responded. It's about how I've done my role and my purpose as much as I possibly could.
Yeah.
And for me, that's, if I can come out with that, if I can come out feeling okay with that, and reflecting on whatever I think I've got to learn about them or me or whatever, still doing that, still okay with all of this.
Yep.
But then I'm going, okay, so that was okay,
Yeah.
right?
You're right.
It was okay.
I think, and this is where my growth has been over the years, because it went from basing it on the other person's reaction, which I now go, that is not in your control.
Yep.
To I feel really good about the conversation, knowing that I've been really clear and kind in my delivery.
Yeah.
And I know that I've done everything for them to walk away with a clear understanding of what we actually need to address.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That for me is about your role and your purpose.
Yeah. So we've come back to post meeting where we've had a conversation around, so what were your takeaways and what do you think you need to work on, or perhaps I'm telling you these are the things we need to work on. And then I guess the key bit after that is really ensuring accountability, isn't it? Because, accountability, yes, but also support.
Yeah.
Like that's got to go hand in hand, right?
So evidence-based support, which is accountability.
Yep.
So I want to see these changes, which hopefully are connected to exactly what I was talking about. I want to see these changes. This is the time frame for that. It's evidence-based accountability, and we're going to follow it up, right?
Yeah.
Because there's got to be a level of commitment from me to the process.
Yeah.
And that might mean we're having conversations. Now, I also hope that they might say, I need help in these areas, or I need to do this, all of those sorts of things. And whether or not that's me providing that or someone else, that's a different story. But it is totally evidence-based accountability.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Clarity in that matters. Success criteria, right?
Yeah. I know, you know, we've covered quite a wide process from start to finish, but it'd be really interesting for the viewers to be able to comment on what things they find really difficult in this process to unpack. Because, I mean, you know, when we talked about making that decision, I know at times that's been something that could have taken me weeks as I'm talking it through with someone. The actual planning of the conversation, you know, you might have to come back to, because you might go, okay, these are the things that I'm going to address, but do I have clear evidence to address all these things? And you might go, you know what, I actually have to sit on it for another week or two to allow me to gather that evidence. So I guess what I'm saying is we've addressed such complex matters in the process, but sometimes, you know, it's people might want to dig a bit deeper about what that looks like.
And I think for everyone, I think all of us struggle with making the decision and trusting our own judgment.
Yeah.
All of us struggle with that. And that's where the evidence matters, Suze. And so again, if we can actually help people do that and understand that, that would be fantastic. It's very, very contextually defined. So there's no definitive answer about that.
Yeah.
It's based on the relationship, the scenario, the whole story. But you've still got to actually be able to go, I'm just going to trust myself on this and connect it back to the things that make it necessary.
Yeah.
It's the courage of that. And that, for me, help people get to that, that's probably where we could go.
Yeah. And because like you said before, it's crucial that you address this stuff with, or talk it through with someone that you trust.
Yeah.
That can help you through that process, because that's huge in itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to unpack that. Hopefully it's really helpful, because I know it has been to me.
I hope it's helped everyone, right?
Yeah.
I know, you know, I've enjoyed working through this process with you, but for me it is about not doing it on your own. It's about being really clear about things that matter and having the courage of your own convictions about it, you know?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.